So welcome, Gerry. We so appreciate your consistent leadership and solidarity and visionary leadership, I should say. And as always at SETC, we begin all things by giving thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So Gerry, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers and share a bit about your remarkable work, sir?
I'm Gerry Higgins. I'm the founder and managing director of Social Enterprise World Forum. Some may tell by my accent, I'm Irish, but I've lived in Scotland for 30 years, and I deliver and support the work of my team supporting social enterprises around the world, and have been doing this since at SEWF since 2008. But I've been over 3 decades working in the social enterprise sector, even before it was called that.
Indeed, sir. So after so many decades of doing this incredible work, what's inspiring you right now? What has you curious, or what's keeping you up at nights?
Well, they're two very different things. What's inspiring me is the stuff that inspired me from day one. It's the endeavor and the commitment and the bravery of social enterprise leaders as they tackle fundamental problems around the world. We've had rising inequality, we've got climate crisis, and social enterprises are working their very hardest despite significant barriers, including access to finance and access to support and absence of policy. And they are innovative and ingenious and dedicated to supporting communities and causes through a social enterprise model across all continents. And that really is the fuel that keeps us going. You know, we started, Victor, with SEWF to convene social enterprises around the world to see if there was an interest in understanding more about what was happening elsewhere and perhaps collaborating through SEWF. And we've been doing that now for 16 years. And we're very aware that social enterprise is truly global. We had 132 countries engaged with us on our social enterprise dialogue last year. And we see a lot of commonalities of issues from region to region and country to country, because fundamentally social enterprises are tackling climate inequality and economic inequality, and a lot of them are doing the similar things in similar ways. And we're just very pleased that we've been able to bring a focus on this work. We've been able to advocate for policy justice, and I guess most importantly, connect social enterprises with each other, so that the challenge they face individually, they appreciate that others are doing similar, and they can share that journey together.
That's incredible. 132 countries. I remember I'm sitting on a panel or speaking at the Social Enterprise World Forum a few years ago, and the amount of intersectional approaches to this work is truly phenomenal. But the way you've amplified leaders in the social innovation, social impact world globally is truly, once again, amazing. So that's a perfect segue to my next question. What are some of the challenges and barriers you and your colleagues face, and what are some of the approaches you're taking to overcome some of these challenges and barriers, sir?
I think one of the fundamental problems that has existed for decades now is the fragmented identity of social enterprise. The answer to what is a social enterprise is quite different from country to country, because the term is not typically understood. We don't have the billions of dollars that industry segments have in order to promote an awareness down to the general public. In some countries, there's pretty good awareness. In many countries, it's terribly low. So this fragmented identity makes it easy for policymakers and even consumers or businesses that might want to buy from social enterprises. It makes that more difficult because there is a fragmented identity. It's not well known, and that has remained the fundamental problem and a barrier to things like social procurement, to things like increasing consumer purchasing from social enterprise, and I guess the building of ecosystems to include issues like legislative change, social finance, and education. If you can't easily define it, it's harder than it needs to be. to create a system to support social enterprise. So the way we're tackling this is through a global verification system. It's a verification system and a campaign system called People and Planet First. And very simply, a social enterprise is a business that puts people on planet first. So that is the primary purpose of the enterprise. And our system looks at 5 standards that we have agreed with partners from every continent as the standards that should be used to verify whether a business is actually a social enterprise, regardless of whether it calls itself that. Many of the enterprises we're dealing with are fair trade enterprises, social economy enterprises. They don't use the term, but they meet the criteria, and therefore we're happy to verify. So that's, I guess, our major initiative right now, alongside our work on policy development and connecting the sector through digital and hybrid convening. So we have a very active program. I think this week there's a convening around our rural manifesto, which we're developing. There's a convening of intermediaries around the world this week. So we want to continue to convene the social enterprise movement in the most environmentally responsible way that we can. So we switched to biennial convening every 2 years after SEWF 23 last year. So we will not have an in-person gathering this year. We'll have one in Asia in 2025 instead. So it's just keeping an active program so that people can share with each other their struggles and their solutions.
Incredible, sir. Incredible. Thank you so much for all that and all the context. So my next question is, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work you'd like to amplify to our listeners and our viewers?
This is probably quite simple. We're in discussions with a partner in Asia around hosting our next hybrid event in 2025. One of my priorities is to get that over the line and to tell the social enterprise community where they can expect to be convening with thousands of others in 2025. We need to make a really good quality decision there, because it's about what it will bring to the local ecosystem, and it's about boring things as well, like risk management and cash flow. So that's one of the things that's keeping me exercised. I mentioned a minute ago Rural Manifesto. Our heart and our values are aligned with rural communities where they have fewer advantages than larger urban centres. And although it's not attractive financially for us to fly the flag for rural social enterprise, we have been doing so for a number of years, and we're developing a rural manifesto to reflect the fact that much of the policy that impacts on rural social enterprise is actually designed in urban centres by urban parliaments and doesn't really understand the needs and the potential and the resilience and the requirements of rural communities. So we're advocating for that by developing a rural manifesto with dozens of partners from many, many countries around the world. And we intend to use that to impact on the global policy level by working with agencies such as UN and OECD, and also making sure that it's relevant to local policymakers across the world. And I guess our third priority would be to accelerate People and Planet First. Right now, we have partners working with us to verify social enterprises in, last time I looked, it was 72 countries, and we're expanding that network to ensure that organizations that meet the standards can actually benefit from being recognized as a social enterprise. And for most, this will be a B2C thing. Yes, for some there will be social procurement benefits, but the majority of social enterprises are selling products and services to consumers. So it's about ensuring that they have some advantages through a common identity as we roll out a global campaign for People and Planet First. So that's a huge amount for our small team of 10 people working in 6 countries to carry out at the moment.
That's incredible. You definitely are outworking many, sir. So I appreciate your leadership. So my second last question, what is your ultimate goal? And what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
We've been part of a piece of research that indicates that there's over 10 million social enterprises around the world. And I guess our ultimate goal is through our People and Planet First initiative, engaging with as many of those as possible to help them to be stronger together. And if we can ensure that organizations whose purpose is to support people and planet are aware of each other, are collaborating together, we can, with others, work towards an economy that is not based on extraction, that's based on a responsible, sustainable business model. So our ultimate goal, Victor, is to work towards a new economy. As a small organization, we can't do this alone, but we are a network of networks. So we're working to support and facilitate our national network partners around the world to work with us and other partners who are part of the social economy to advocate for greater recognition and so that we can work together to tackle inequality and tackle climate injustice.
Incredible. So, do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners and viewers, sir?
I guess looking at the Canadian ecosystem, you have a lot of advantages here. You've got a good quality ecosystem with a number of significant components that even over in Scotland I'm aware of. You've got a social finance fund, you've got parliamentary champions like MP Ryan Turnbull, you've got social procurement policies in place. Provinces like Quebec are known the world over for the strength of their social economy enterprise and the system that's behind that. And I guess I'm curious as to how the national identity in Canada, in terms of the social enterprise movement, will organize itself to be more coherent, less fragmented, more powerful in Canada, and more powerful on a global stage in the years to come. Yeah, I think that's. And I guess looking at the figures that made the headlines, or the detail that made the headlines here, was the pure value of the social finance fund. And with any of these type of initiatives, my concern and the questions I will be asking is how much of that makes it to the bottom of the pyramid, because we know there's going to be a lot of ambitious, articulate, well-supported organizations clamoring for social investment when if they don't get it in one place, they'll get it somewhere else. But actually in communities that don't have some of those advantages, I would hope that the delivery of that fund and the influence that you and others can have in Canada will ensure that those funds actually get to the communities that need the most support. So for Canada, that would be my wish, to really collaborate closely with other networks to have a loud voice for Canada, and to ensure that when the ecosystem is being developed, it's being developed for everybody.
Indeed, sir. Well, you never disappoint. And I think your analysis is bang on. We met almost a decade ago, I believe, maybe further, when Minister Hoskins was in power through the PERF project at the Learning Enrichment Foundation through our good colleague, Peter Frampton. And I heard so many great things about you from our beloved colleague, David LePage from Bisocial Canada. So once again, I just always appreciate your candor, your visionary leadership, your solidarity, and your commitments to community economic development. And as always at SETC, we close by once again giving thanks for all your work, but giving thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Thank you so much, Gerry. We so appreciate you and all that you do for so many.
Victor, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.